Welcome to Women's World. I'm Michaeline Moya-Bassi, and tonight we bring you PNG's first ever female Vice Chancellor to a university in Papua New Guinea and an informative workshop from the recent PNG Women's Forum called Communicate Your Way to Success with the 7 Cs. But first, the Australian High Commission and the Royal PNG Constabulary opened Gulf Province's first Family and Sexual Violence Unit in Kerema. The first Family and Sexual Violence Unit was launched in 2011 by the Australian High Commission. Today there are a total of 18 FSV units across the country, the newest being in the town of Kerema in Gulf Province. The FSV unit in Kerema was officially opened last week. Australian High Commission Minister Councillor Rod Hilton, present at the opening, assured the people of Kerema that the Family and Sexual Violence units were very effective and has helped over 40,000 people since the very first unit was opened 5 years ago.
The 18th unit that Australian support has been able to be built right across all of PNG. And we know the FSVUs work, we know they're making a difference. Since Australia started to build these units, we have had over 40,000 people be able to use them.
According to a recent report by Médecins Sans Frontières, titled Return to Abuser, out of 1,046 victims treated by MSF, 9 out of 10 sexual violence survivors were female, and more than half were children. Close to 9 out of 10 of these sexual violence survivors had been raped, while the other 130 had experienced attempted rape or sexual assault. Hilton said that addressing family sexual violence not only helps victims, but also enables communities to address gender-based violence.
Family and sexual violence does not just assist the victims of such violence. It also aids us to be a better community, a safer community, and a more developed community. If we are to achieve our aims, our dreams, our aspirations, we must always look to address the safety and security of our women and children.
MSF data revealed that 49% of all patients MSF treated were sexually abused in their own homes. The majority of these victims were raped, with 1 in 10 females, revealing that they had either been repeatedly abused or had experienced ongoing sexual violence. For almost a quarter of all these survivors of sexual violence, the abuse occurred during a daily activity, while for 1 in 5, it happened while they were travelling. There is much to do for gender-based violence to be thoroughly addressed in the country, and Deputy Commissioner of Police Jim Andrews, speaking at the opening, said that the establishment of FSVUs was a major step forward for the country.
The establishment of FSVU is a major step forward for PNG. These buildings are symbolic and are at the forefront of changing the attitude and the mindset of Papua New Guinean men on the subject of family and sexual violence.
The MSF report also found that there was a lack of legislative protection and support, combined with a general lack of confidence in the police and formal justice system. These are just some contributing factors to the underreporting of family and sexual violence. Andrews admitted that the Royal PNG Constabulary had over the years been lenient on investigating cases of family sexual violence and was hopeful that the FSV unit would help put a stop to that.
They are often criticized for the lack of response to cases for family and sexual violence. We were, and in a lot of instances, still are guilty for not attending to cases or dealing with them properly.
Jim Andrews said the setting up of family and sexual violence units was a part of a bigger vision for the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary to provide services to those who need it the most. He said an FSV unit is a specialized unit with designated space and trained police officers to respond to family and sexual violence cases in an appropriate and sensitive manner.
An enabling environment for victims and survivors, assisting them through the process reporting cases perpetrated against them and ensuring they access justice in a timely manner with minimal real trauma. FSBUs also assist survivors by referring them onto relevant agencies for counseling and support, including emergency accommodation.
Residents of Kerema town who were present at the launch were thankful for the establishment of the FSV unit, as women and girls would now have access to critical services dealing with gender-based violence.
Family and sexual violence amongst the women and girls. And many of these cases have gone unnoticed, unreported, and the perpetrators have got away with a lot of these problems. And I believe that opening of this facility here is going to help a lot, give a lot of help to our women folk in the community.
Minister Councillor Rod Hilton assured the people of Kerema that the Australian government was committed to helping PNG address law and order in communities, enabling justice for all and protecting women and children.
The community of Kerema and its surrounds, the people of Gulf Province, that Australia will stand side by side with you to address the law and justice issues and make sure we're working in partnership with you so you can achieve your dreams, your aspirations and achieve a better law and justice sector here in Gulf Province.
You're watching Women's World. When we return, we present Dr. Cecilia Nembou, Paramedi and Vice Chancellor at Divine Word University. PNG's first female Vice-Chancellor to a university in Papua New Guinea, Dr. Cecilia Nembou has a career spanning over 40 years. A female, mathematician, mother, educator and leader, the list goes on. Women's World sat down with Dr. Nembou at the recent PNG Women's Forum.
My role as President and Vice Chancellor is actually the CEO of a university. Universities are very complex organizations, and the person who leads the organization has got to be both an academic and a leader. So an academic leader means you've got to actually you provide the leadership not only on the teaching and learning side, but also on the administration side, and then of course always provide the kind of support that the students need. Yeah. So because in the university we have academic staff, we have administrative staff, and we have students, and these three groups of people come together. They make a very complex organization. So the team leader, the Vice Chancellor, has got to be somebody who can provide the leadership at the academic level as well as administration. But I don't do the work myself. I have a group I have an executive team, and then I have a cabinet, which is a wider group of managers, like middle managers. So at the senior level are the vice presidents who help me run the university, and then below them there are the deans, the faculty deans, and the directors of administrative divisions. It's very difficult at this early stage to talk about positive or negative. There are challenges. Managing a university is very challenging. It remains to be seen what I can do. What I do know is I actually know how to manage a university. I've done it before. I have a lot of experience, but I have to lead, like I said, 3 different groups of people. So managing people is the first challenge and the first task that I have to get over. So I have to build rapport with students, I have to build rapport with academic staff, I have to build rapport with administrative staff. So this is the first thing that I've had to do, and I've already started, and I will continue to do this. Yeah. What I must do and what I want to do is to actually make sure that the university continues to excel in the things that we want to do in the academic arena. We want to enhance our research capacity. We want to increase the number of postgraduate programs we offer. We want to graduate more PhDs. That's how we build ourselves. And we actually, to do that, we want to go online. We're going into into the cloud. We say we're going into the cloud. Knowledge is in the cloud. We want to operate in the cloud by delivering our programs in blended mode. Yeah, so those are some of the positive things we want to do. Yeah. I quoted Mandela that education is the strongest weapon you can use to change the world. I believe in that. Yeah. Education has taken me to where I am. And I would like to see that every other woman or every other young person, man or woman, can see the value of education, that their parents can see the value of education and encourage them, because that's the only way to go. To me, you need an educated population for us to be able to realize our 2050 vision of being healthy, wealthy, and wise, happy, united. We must educate our people. I grew up in a convent school. When I went to uni, I went astray a little bit. But in my adult life, I've been able to bring back the spirituality, because in working for a Catholic institution, the spirituality of work is very much part of your professional life. So it's not so much what we do is not so much the money we get for it. It's actually what it means, and the dignity of work, and work being associated with the will of God is what we mean by the spirituality of work. That what you do is what God intends you to do, to be of service to other humans, to serve the community, to serve the common good. That if a young person finds themselves in a challenging situation, to actually take time to work out how to deal with it. Ask for help, but bring that under control first. That's what I mean by picking yourself up. Do not give up. Find ways to manage the situation so that you are able to pick yourself up and keep going. But I emphasize also that you must have a dream. You must have a dream, and you must have the determination and the willpower to achieve your dream. So this I see is a bit of a challenge, because other than the political leaders who are speaking, whose expressions may relate better to the people coming from the village level, those of us who belong to the corporate world or universities, there might be a little bit of a gap in communication. I'm hoping that they can just see what we say, learn from our experience, and contextualize it for their own situation, because it requires that translation or contextualization, if you like, because to talk about the corporate world, or for me to talk about academic leadership, it may not be directly translated by the women who go back to the village, but I'm hoping that they can be able to contextualize that for their own situation. Yeah. The men are a very critical factor, because here in sharing information, we're also trying to influence attitudes. We want to bring about change, is really to bring about attitudes. So the men who are here are very important change agents, because they are the ones who actually can see the value in promoting women, educating women, getting women to participate in the development. So they are a very important group, because they are the ones who already see the value in the contribution of women, the participation of women. So they are the ones who can be the middlemen between women and men. Yeah. Students in tertiary institutions, that and even in high schools anyway, that learning is for life. Learning is for life. Just because you have graduated from high school or from university or from college does not mean that that's the end of it. Learning continues until you're in the grave. So make use of every opportunity. At the end of the bachelor's degree, there is always a master's degree. There is always a PhD. Learning never stops, but you don't have to get a PhD if you don't want to get the PhD. Learn some trade. Learn some other skills. Like I said earlier, knowledge is in the cloud. If you cannot get it by going into a classroom, you can access it from the cloud. There are a lot of programs, courses on the internet that you can enroll for. Some of them are free. You can teach yourself, you can undertake those courses. Learning never stops, education never stops. So I encourage everyone to continue learning, continue achieving their dreams.
Stay tuned to Women's World. When we come back, we show you how you can communicate your way to success with the 7 C's. Communication involves not only the words or language we use, but the tone, the body position, facial expressions, and the reaction of behavior we give. It's been said that 85% of success is tied to communication. Coming up next, we show you highlights of the 85-factor Communicate Your Way to Success workshop held at the recent PNG Women's Forum.
There are different types of communication, formal and informal, and internal and external. Usually, we don't need to put in so much thought when we're communicating with our friends. We talk casually. But if there's a big meeting coming up with company executives, we think of what we should say, what words to use, our posture, and everything else. The 7 C's will assist you making your way up the ladder of success. Now, what are the 7 C's and how can we use them? The first C stands for completeness. Say exactly everything you need to say. Ask yourself the questions: what, where, when, who, why, and how, and communicate them.
We want to make sure that when we communicate, we give all the facts that we need to communicate in order to get that message across, the intent across with it. So we want to be thinking in the receiver's mindset, what information to get across.
What's motivating you? What's driving you? What is your heart saying? So the why is the most important. So make sure that when you communicate the why.
Conciseness. Be clear and simple. Know who you're communicating with so you know what words you should use. Keep it simple and easy for your audience to remember.
But when you're in those situations with maybe your boss or someone that you're in a meeting with or whoever it is, it's important that you don't try to tell all the facts that you know. It's important that you just give them the information that they need to understand and that you're concise.
Consideration. It's very important to show genuine interest in what others are communicating to you. Even when the conversation seems to be going in the wrong direction, consider their point of view and try to turn it into a positive one.
Right? You want to step into the shoes of the person that you're communicating with. And that's what consideration means. You look at their viewpoint, but you consider all different things around them. So
be genuinely interested in them and it builds rapport. Oh, this person cares. They're thoughtful. Then people want to work with someone that's like that.
4. Clarity. Be clear and stay on point. Also be clear by knowing what you want to get out of interactions.
Words are just units, and they have meaning attached to them, and a lot of times different people attach different things to different meanings to those word units. So when you're talking to someone, you want to use the appropriate word units for those people.
5. Concreteness. Add more weight to what you're conveying by giving facts and figures. That way, whoever you're communicating with trusts you, and the message conveyed is believable. But remember, never to exaggerate.
be very particular and clear in what you want to communicate. Use words that are clear, and concrete messages are not easily misinterpreted. And it's such a big component of it is you want to make sure the other person understands what you're saying. If you're sort of fuzzy and you're not really saying the message clearly, it's not concrete, they're going to interpret it in ways that you probably don't want them to.
Corporate world especially, they expect hard numbers. They don't want to have fuzziness. They don't want this, words that really don't have something that's meaningful and attached to them. And do not exaggerate. Don't exaggerate because you lower the quality of your communication.
6. Courtesy. Have respect and don't interrupt when someone else is talking. Also pay attention to what others communicate to you. Learn to appreciate and absorb the opinion of others.
This is where you use good volume and tone in that courtesy. That tone has to match what the message you're going to communicate. There's times that you have to use a stern tone, right? But understand what that's going to communicate to the other person.
7. Correctness. Be true and precise as much as you can. By doing this, you earn trust from others around you. Also use small, smart words that are easy to understand so that confusion is avoided.
We want to make sure that when we're communicating, especially written form, we don't have any grammatical errors, because people might concentrate on those versus a message, right? Oh, she didn't capitalize it, she put a comma out of it, and then completely forget the message that's coming.
But there is one word that we can say covers all 7 C's. That word is rapport. So what is rapport? It's basically the ability to consider someone else's world, where they're coming from, and get them to understand that you both share a strong common bond. With rapport, you build a relationship, but also get what you want, and that's where success is.
And this is what rapport is. Think about it this way. Let's say that you set a time with your friend to meet at Vision City. And you said, let's meet at 3 o'clock. And then it's 3:20, and you say, okay, well, she's running late. That's okay. And then it's 3:40, and then you say, well, I'm sure that there was an issue maybe with the bus or a taxi, or she had to attend to something at work, or you know, he had to pick up his child at school, or you make excuses in your mind for that friend of yours, right? You give them grace. But let's say that someone wanted to meet with you, and there was someone that maybe you didn't like very well, and then it's 3:02, and you say, are they trying to disrespect me? And then it's 3:10, and you're saying, what's the matter with this person? They are trying to get something from me, and yet they don't even have the courtesy to show up on time. And then it's 3:20, and what? You leave. Forget about you. One person, your friend, they had rapport. The other person didn't have rapport. What you're doing when you build rapport is that you're building harmony. So the important thing about building rapport is that you must do it first before you ask for anything.
That's the end of this week's edition of Women's World. You can share your stories and news with us through our Facebook page. Just search Women's World MTV. Thank you for watching. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your viewing on your #1 to watch, MTV.